At dinner, my sister announced she was pregnant and claimed my husband was the father. That's when I dropped a secret that shut the whole table down. My name is Marina. I'm 29 years old, and this is the story of how I discovered that the people you trust the most are capable of anything to get what they want. You believe certain lines will never be crossed. I thought so too. It was a Thursday in March when I received the news of my promotion. After 4 years as a project manager at a tech company in Austin, Texas, I was finally being made commercial director. I was radiant. I called David, my husband, and Beatrice, my younger sister, to share the joy. Let's celebrate at Terzo tonight, I suggested. Terzo was that chic Italian restaurant where a meal cost more than a day's work for most. But I could afford it. I had worked hard for this. I arrived first, wearing the navy blue dress David always said was perfect on me. I chose a secluded table, wanting privacy for our celebration. The dining room was full of executives and elegant couples, the kind of environment where I now belonged. When I saw them arriving together, a flicker of unease passed through me. Beatrice was radiant with a smile I hadn't seen in years. David seemed nervous. He always got uncomfortable in expensive places. But there was something else in the air that night, a tension I couldn't name. "Congratulations on the promotion, Mari," Beatrice said, hugging me with a suspicious effusiveness. She was never this demonstrative. We ordered a $200 bottle of Chianti, and I began telling them about my new projects, the 40% salary increase, the international opportunities. Beatrice listened with an intensity that felt unnatural. David just fidgeted with his napkin. "Actually," Beatrice interrupted my excitement, "we have news to share too." She reached across the table and took David's hand. My stomach dropped. "I'm pregnant." The world stopped. The voices in the restaurant faded into a distant hum. I stared at my sister's hand intertwined with my husband's, as if it were a mirage. "I know it's a complicated situation," David spoke for the first time, his voice thin. "But it happened, and we fell in love." They watched me, a mixture of expectation and poorly disguised satisfaction on their faces. They were waiting for me to explode, to give the other tables a scene to gossip about. But I could only stare. My sister, whom I'd helped through college, was holding my husband's hand, pregnant with his child, telling me this on the day of my promotion. "How long?" I asked, my voice strangely calm. 3 months, Beatrice replied, running a hand over her still flat belly. "It started right after your birthday." My birthday had been in December. It was now May. 3 months of betrayal. 3 months of lies. 3 months of them laughing at me, while I worked 12-hour days for the promotion I was so eager to share with the people I loved. "Marina, say something," David pleaded. I looked at him, truly looked at him for the first time in years. He looked relieved, as if a weight had been lifted. "What do you want me to say?" I asked, my voice still not my own. "Congratulations," Beatrice offered with a nervous, yet genuine laugh. "Look, Mari, I know it's not easy, but these things happen. Love is love, right? And the baby needs both parents together." I picked up my purse slowly, placed 2 $50 bills on the table, more than enough for my share, and stood. "I'm going home. You do whatever you want." As I walked away, I heard David call my name, but I didn't turn. In the restaurant's wall mirror, I saw their reflections. Beatrice was smiling. Throughout our childhood, Beatrice lived in my shadow, and it festered inside her. I was the older daughter, the responsible one, the one who got good grades without apparent effort. She was the youngest, the spoiled one, the one our parents protected. But it was never enough for her. We grew up middle class in San Antonio. Our father was an accountant, our mother a teacher. We weren't rich, but we lacked for nothing. Yet Beatrice always acted as if she deserved more. When I got a full scholarship to the University of Texas, Beatrice called it rich girl's luck. When I graduated with honors and got an internship at a multinational, she said I knew how to sell myself. When I bought my first apartment at 25, she asked if I wasn't being too ambitious. She genuinely believed she deserved the same things I had, but without the effort. Our parents tried to balance things. When I bought a new Honda Civic, they bought a used one for her. When my career took off, they increased their help with her rent. They were trying to artificially keep Beatrice at my level. She always asked about my salary, my investments, the apartment's value. Just sisterly curiosity, she'd say. But there was a greedy intensity in her questions that I chose to ignore. Now I understood it wasn't curiosity. It was envy, pure and simple. When I met David at a work party 5 years ago, Beatrice was quick to say he wasn't my type. He was handsome, kind, and worked as a salesman at a BMW dealership. He earned decently, about $5,000 a month with commissions, but nothing compared to my $8,000, which soon became $12,000. Still, I fell in love. He was fun and uncomplicated, a contrast to my always planning nature. Beatrice was always polite to David, but I noticed a tension, especially when the bill arrived. David was sometimes embarrassed when I paid for expensive dinners. Beatrice observed it all with that calculating look I knew well. "You support him, don't you?" she once asked when David went to the bathroom. "I don't support him," I replied, irritated. "We split things proportionally." It was true. David paid what he could. It worked for us. But for Beatrice, it was more proof of my unearned luck. I arrived home to an apartment exactly as I had left it. The made bed, the clean dishes. It was surreal how everything could shatter while the physical world remained unchanged. David's toothbrush was still in the holder, his clothes in the closet. I sat on the beige leather sofa, still in my dress and heels, and stared into the void. My head was quiet, numb. I knew I should be crying, screaming, but I felt nothing. It was the calm before the storm. David didn't come home that night. At 2 a.m., a message arrived. "I'm at B's. We'll talk tomorrow." He called her B, as if they'd been intimate for years, as if our 4-year marriage was an inconvenient obstacle now removed. I spent the night awake, pacing the 120 square meters of my apartment, connecting the dots. David working later. Beatrice asking about my schedule. Them arriving together. Beatrice had been in Austin a lot recently. "I came to see some clients," she'd said. Why did she never stay on my couch anymore? When the sun rose, I was still on the couch, my dress wrinkled. My phone showed 17 missed calls from my mother. Beatrice had told her everything, no doubt in a romanticized version where they were star-crossed lovers. I called the office and said I wouldn't be in. My assistant, Simone, knew something was wrong but didn't press. "Call me if you need anything, Marina. You never miss work." In the shower, the tears finally came. A tired, hollow crying for the 2 people I had loved most in the world. Later, 3 messages from Beatrice appeared. "Mari, we need to talk. It wasn't how we wanted you to find out. Call me. We can resolve this like adults." I deleted them all. That evening, David came to get his clothes. He still had the keys. He tried to explain as he packed a suitcase. "It wasn't planned, Mari. It just happened." As if betrayal were a weather event. B was going through a difficult time. She needed someone to talk to. "How long?" I asked, watching him fold the polo shirts I'd bought him. "Officially? Since January. 4 months. 4 months of lies and empty I love yous, while I work myself to exhaustion for our future." "I'm going to find a lawyer," I said, sitting on the king-sized bed I had bought. David stopped packing. "Mari, it doesn't have to be like this. We can resolve everything civilly. Divide things fairly. Civilly. Divide things fairly." As if betrayal could be settled with politeness. After he left, I called Helena, my best friend from college and a family law attorney in Houston. I told her everything, my voice steady. "Marina, I'm so sorry," she said when I finished. "About the divorce. I need all your documents. Bank statements, deeds, everything. I'll build the best case possible. Helena, I don't care about the money. I just want it over." "Don't say that. You fought for what you have. You're not handing it to someone who betrayed you. Do you know what your assets are worth?" I didn't, exactly, but I knew it was substantial. The apartment was worth at least $400,000. I had about $100,000 in investments, a $50,000 stake in a startup, plus my new salary of $16,000 a month. I scheduled a meeting for the following week. Then I remembered I needed to organize the documents. In the home office, I pulled out the colored folders where I kept my life sorted. Bank statements, tax returns, investment portfolios. It was impressive to see on paper what I'd built at 29. I took the green folder holding our marriage documents. My birth certificate, the marriage certificate from Travis County. I stopped, frowning. There was something about the property regime. Separate property. Complete separation of assets. Why complete separation? Most couples in Texas chose community property. And then I remembered the prenuptial agreement. I rushed to the small safe in my closet, my fingers fumbling with the combination. Behind the apartment deed and my passport, there it was, a sealed envelope from the Travis County Clerk's office. Prenuptial agreement. Marina Santos Silva and David Oliveira Ferrer. My hands trembled as I opened it. I had insisted on this 4 years ago, but the details were hazy. I'd been so in love, the legalities seemed like a formality. But now, alone at 2 a.m., holding those pages, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe these papers held my salvation. The memory returned in a flood. A sunny Saturday, 2 weeks before our wedding. I was 25 and had just signed for my $350,000 apartment. David was nervous about the wedding costs. "Mari, are you sure we need all this?" he'd asked, looking at the vendor list. $15,000 for catering? David, relax. I'll pay most of it. You contribute what you can. It was then I'd mentioned the prenup. My lawyer, Dr. Patricia Williams, had suggested it. "Marina, you're young and successful. A prenup is sensible protection, especially with a significant asset disparity." When I brought it up, David laughed. "A prenup? Isn't that for rich people? We love each other, Mari. It's not about love. It's legal protection for both of us. If something goes wrong..." "Nothing will go wrong," he'd interrupted, taking my hand. "You're being paranoid, baby." He eventually agreed. "If it's important to you, fine." In Dr. Williams's office, David was hungover and distracted. "Sorry, Mari. Had to come straight from work. Lost a sale for this." Dr. Williams explained the terms with patience. Complete separation of assets. Each spouse maintains their individual patrimony. No division in case of divorce, except for assets acquired jointly with clear proof of mutual contribution. "You understand, David?" I'd asked. Yeah. Each one keeps what's theirs." "Makes sense." He signed all 15 pages with the ease of someone signing a receipt. He had no idea what he was giving up. "Now you can marry in peace," Dr. Williams had said. "I hope to never see you here professionally again." On the drive home, David said, "I still think it's weird, but what's important is that in 2 weeks, we'll be married. Husband and wife forever." He didn't understand. And I, in love, didn't care. The contract was a formality that would never be needed. How wrong I was. Now, 4 years later, I read every word as if my life depended on it. The legal jargon shone like a beacon. Complete separation of property. Each spouse shall maintain individual ownership of all property owned prior to marriage and all property acquired during the marriage. The apartment, the investments, the startup stake, all mine. In the event of dissolution of marriage, there shall be no division of property. David had no right to anything. Spousal support waiver. Both parties hereby waive any right to spousal support, alimony, or maintenance. No alimony. Despite our income disparity, he had waived it. I smiled for the first time in days. A small, grim smile. David had signed his own financial ruin. And Beatrice, she had seduced my husband, thinking he was her ticket to the life I had built. The irony was delicious. I made a mental list of my net worth. Apartment, $400,000. Investments, $100,000. Startup, $50,000. Cash, $40,000. Car, $20,000. Over $600,000 at 29. And David had no claim to any of it. My new salary was $16,000, with bonuses. David would continue on his $5,000. I smiled again. I took photos of every page and emailed them to Helena. She replied in 15 minutes, "Marina, this changes everything. Call me tomorrow." For the first time since that dinner, I slept. Over the next few days, the pieces fell into place. Beatrice's curiosity about my finances wasn't innocent. It was reconnaissance. At Christmas, she'd slurred, "Mari, do you realize how frustrating it is? You have this beautiful apartment, a new car, trips, while I kill myself and can barely pay rent." I thought it was the wine. Now I saw it was her true resentment. She believed she deserved my life without the work. David, never ambitious, had nonetheless grown uncomfortable with my spending. $400 for a purse? That's almost my rent. Beatrice had likely whispered in his ear. Imagine when you divorce. Half of all this will be yours. She didn't know about the prenup. I had told no one. Their announcement at Terzo wasn't a desperate confession. It was a calculated performance designed to humiliate me and lay claim to my world. 3 weeks after the betrayal, I called Beatrice. Hi, B. I've been thinking. You're right. There's no point in holding a grudge. We're adults. These things happen. Silence. Then, really? You're okay with this? I'm trying to accept it. You fell in love. It's no one's fault. And there's the baby. Oh, Mari. David will be so relieved. He was afraid you'd make a scene. No scene. Let's meet. Talk civilly. For closure. At Terzo again. Saturday night. Perfect. I hung up, smiling. Saturday would be interesting. Helena thought it was risky. Just file the papers, Marina. They humiliated me publicly. Helena. They deserve to know why their plan failed. I arrived at Terzo at 8 p.m. in a controlled, elegant black dress. They arrived together, relaxed and smiling, holding hands. Beatrice's dress highlighted her small bump. Mari, you look beautiful. Beatrice hugged me. You both look well, I said. How's the pregnancy? Great. We're thinking of names. David pulled out Beatrice's chair, a chivalrous gesture he'd rarely shown me. Marina, thank you for this. For being civil. We're all adults here. We order the same Chianti. The unspoken irony hung in the air. So, David began after a sip about the divorce. We want to do this amicably. Divide things fairly. Divide things fairly, I repeated. What do you consider fair? He and Beatrice exchanged a glance. We sell the apartment, split it 50/50ths. The investments, too. And with your new salary, alimony would help a lot until I stabilize with B and the baby. Alimony, I said softly. I reached into my purse and placed the yellowed envelope on the table. Before we discuss division, we need to clarify something you seem to have forgotten. David frowned. What is that? Our prenuptial agreement. The one you signed, David, calling it rich people nonsense. The color drained from his face. Beatrice looked confused. What agreement? David signed it without reading it properly. I spread the pages open. Complete separation of assets. Do you remember what that means? David picked up the pages, his hands shaking. This can't. The apartment, the investments. I contributed. You contributed $300 a month for groceries, David. I paid the $1,800 mortgage, the condo fees, everything. Your $300 doesn't give you rights to a $400,000 apartment. But alimony, Beatrice said frantically, scanning the pages. He has a right to alimony. I pointed to Clause 3. Spousal support waiver. He waived all rights to alimony. I didn't know what I was signing. David's voice rose. You tricked me. I tricked you? You were there when the lawyer explained it. There are witnesses. It's registered. It's bulletproof. Beatrice's face shifted from confusion to horror. He gets nothing. Nothing. Zero. I placed the papers back in the envelope. David leaves this marriage with his financed truck, his clothes, and his credit card debt. You're going to leave us with nothing? David's voice broke. I have a child to support. You have a child to support, I emphasized. On your car salesman salary. In Texas, child support is about 20% of your net income. If you earn $5,000 gross, that's about $760 a month until the child is 18. Plus medical, daycare, clothes. It's going to be very expensive to have a baby. They stared at each other in panic. They hadn't done the math. David, how much do you earn? $5,000. After support and taxes, you'll have about $3,400 net. Beatrice, your freelance work brings in about $2,000 on a good month. So, $5,400 for 3 people. Where will you live? In your 1-bedroom, Beatrice? That will be cramped. The silence was absolute. Marina, David tried again, please. You can't do this. You tried to rob me, David. You thought I was a fool who would hand over $500,000 because you were in love. Surprise. I'm richer than you thought. And now I'll earn $16,000 a month while you fight over diaper money. David buried his face in his hands. I'm an idiot. Finally, we agree. Marina, we're family. Beatrice cried. Your niece or nephew? Don't you want to help? Family. I stood up, leaving two $50 bills. Family doesn't do what you did. Your lawyers can contact Helena Williams in Houston. I walked away, hearing Beatrice begin to sob and David curse. In the parking lot, I took a deep breath. My phone rang. It was Helena. So, how was the theater? Better than Broadway. 6 months later, the divorce was final. David didn't contest. My life settled into a new, powerful normal. I poured my energy into my career, smashing targets and earning even more. The startup secured new funding, tripling my stake. I sold my apartment for an $80,000 profit and bought a stunning loft for $700,000 in cash, renovating it into a masterpiece. I traveled the world, first class. I dined at Michelin-starred restaurants. The peace of being alone was addictive. I started therapy, not to grieve, but to grow. My mother called often. David lost his job, Marina. Things are so hard. With the baby support. What a shame. I'd reply without sympathy. Little Sophia was born. From the photos my mother showed me, she was beautiful. Beatrice and David, unable to afford their apartment, moved back in with my retired parents. David found a job at a smaller dealership, earning half his previous salary. The daily commute to Austin ate his meager earnings. They fought constantly about money. I helped my parents directly, paying an electric bill or a pediatrician, but I never sent money to Beatrice or David. I had built a fortress around my life, and they were on the outside. On my 30th birthday, I threw a party in my new loft. Surrounded by genuine friends, looking out at the Austin skyline, I felt a profound gratitude. Gratitude for the betrayal that forced me to find my own strength. Gratitude for the prenup my younger self had the wisdom to demand. Gratitude even for Beatrice, whose envy taught me that not all family deserves loyalty. 2 years later, my net worth surpassed $2 million. I was an executive director. I was dating Daniel, a successful architect who was my true partner. David and Beatrice were living in a trailer park, trapped by their choices. I received a message from an unknown number. David. Marina, I know you don't want to talk to me, but you were right about everything. I was an idiot. I destroyed the best thing I had. I hope you're happy. I deleted it. He was right. I was happy. My story isn't about revenge. It's about justice. It's about learning that self-esteem is non-negotiable, that you must protect what you build, and that the best revenge is not just living well, but living free, while those who try to harm you reap the consequences of their own choices.